Hello, my name's Ernest Sullivan. I'm a performance consultant. And whether you're a businessman, athlete, or a housewife, I basically help people perform better. And I do it using a technique I developed called hemispheric kinesiology. Now, hemispheric kinesiology is a muscle testing technique that allows me to access, isolate, and clear subconsciously stored information, basically preventing people from accomplishing their goals. Now, HK basically works on the premise that if it stresses you to do something, you're not going to do it well. So once you set a goal to do something, one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to succeed or fail. And what determines that success or failure is the information you have stored in your mind, because that's the information that you're going to use during your attempt to successfully accomplish this goal. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just show and explain to you how we're able to use muscle testing and hemispheric kinesiology to extract information from the body. So Linda, if you would please step forward. Okay, what I'd like you to do is just face that way and just extend your arms out and extend your fingers and look straight ahead, if you would, straight ahead that way. Thank you. And just resist upwards slightly as I push down. Ready, hold. Good, okay. So I'd like you to think of something that relaxes you. Okay, ready, hold. Okay, so see, we got a strong muscle test. And see, that's the key in athletics to achieving peak performance, is to remain totally relaxed. Okay, it's a very difficult concept to understand when somebody's running a 100-yard dash, but that's the concept. Okay, now I'd like you, Linda, to think of something that stresses you. Ready, hold. Okay, so you see how I got a weak muscle test? So whenever there's stress in the body, it just weakens the body. Okay, so now I'd like you to do is make the statement, my real name is Linda. That's all you have to say. My real name is Linda.
My real name is Linda.
Okay, ready, hold. Okay, so I got a strong muscle test. Now, the way I check the hemispheres of the brain is I just touch the right side of the head in muscle test, and I touch the left side of the head. So I'd like you to think of the statement you just made, Linda. Okay, all right, ready, hold. Right hemisphere is strong, left hemisphere, ready, hold. Good. Okay, so when she made that statement, her conscious mind sent instructions to her subconscious mind. Well, give me all the information you have stored relating to this statement, which my real name is Linda. So the subconscious mind said, oh yeah, I can support that. Here's all this information to support. And so the body stayed strong, both hemispheres remained switched on. So I'd like you to say, my real name is Betty Smith.
My real name is Betty Smith.
Ready, hold. Okay, so we got a weak muscle test, and I'll see what her hemispheres were doing when she said that. Think of that statement, my real name is Betty Smith. Okay, ready, hold. Right hemisphere switched off, left hemisphere switched off. Okay, so what happens this time was that the conscious mind sent instructions to the subconscious mind, well, give me all the information you have stored relating to the statement, my real name is Betty Smith. Subconscious mind says, oh man, I don't have any information to support that, or it's still looking for it. And so what it does is it dials 911 and it goes, I can't find any information to support that statement. So it created stress in the body, and it weakened the body, and it switched off both hemispheres of the brain. And that's exactly what happens when you encounter a blockage that's preventing you from doing something, is that the subconscious mind does not have the information to support what it is the conscious mind wants to do. And so it creates a switch of stress in the body, and it switches off both hemispheres of the brain. Okay. So basically, that's how we're able to tap into the conscious mind, because I can have her make a statement, thought, or action and muscle test her and see how her body is reacting to that particular statement. And basically, that's what I do when I do a session. When I have someone come in, I say, well, tell me what you want. And then I'll muscle test your body to see if it's willing to give it to you, or whether it's willing to cooperate with you in achieving that. And if I get a weak muscle test, the body is basically saying, I don't want to do that. I want to do this thing over here. So it's so important that you understand that everything I've told you up to this point has been theory, but it's the muscle testing that allows me to bring it into reality. Now, when we were muscle testing, the weak muscle test indicated there was stress in the body. So it's really important that you understand the significance of stress and the implications and the ramifications in the physical body, and how the physical body is reacting to stress when it's present. Now, stress is the result produced when a structure, system, or organism is acted upon by physical and psychological forces that disrupt equilibrium or produce strain. So whenever stress is present in the body, it just causes this myriad of physiological changes in the body, and some of those changes are an increase in the rate and force of the heartbeat, a rise in systolic blood pressure, sweating of the palms and hands, decreased digestion, blood distribution from less to more active organs, increased blood glucose or hyperglycemia, and much more. Now that we've shown you how to program in the trigger, I'd like to get Linda back here to show you how we use hemispheric kinesiology to muscle test to see whether or not there's stress present in the body. We're going to check the hemispheres of the brain in relationship to a particular statement. We're also going to look for the initial synthesizing event that's creating the stress in the body. And then we're going to program in the trigger and then show you how we use the trigger to clear that. Now I'll post-test her to make sure that that we got a strong muscle test and that both hemispheres are switched on. So Linda, if you would come in, please. Okay. All right, so if you would face the camera and then just lift your arm straight up and extend. Okay. All right, so what I'd like you to do is just make the statement, I love myself.
All right. Oh.
Okay.
I love myself.
Okay. I just want you to think of that statement. Okay, ready, hold. Okay, so we got a weak muscle test. Now let's see what the hemispheres of her brain are doing in relationship to that statement, I love myself. Left hemisphere, right. Oh, wait a minute, right, left. Okay, right hemisphere, left. Okay, all right, sorry about that. Okay, so her right hemisphere was strong, left hemisphere was switched off. Okay? So what we want to do is find the initial synthesizing event that created the stress in her body and created the weak muscle test. So what we're going to do is just ask the body, because the body remembers everything that's ever happened to it. Okay, trauma entered this body before age 20, ready, hold. Okay, between birth and 10, between 10 and 15. Okay, so age 11, 12, 11, 12, okay. So what happened was I really asked her body that did this initial event occur before 20, I got a weak muscle test. And I said between birth and 10, I got a strong muscle test. So I went between 10 and 15, I got a weak muscle test until we were able to locate it at, what was it, age 12? Mm-hmm. Okay. It's age 12, let's make sure. Okay, age 11, think of the initial event, ready, hold, age 12, okay, all right. So it occurred at age 12. So what I'm just going to ask Linda is, I want you to go back to age 12 and just tell me if there's anything unusual happened to you at age 12. Any unusual experience? What's the first thought that comes up?
I don't think this is unusual, but it's the only thought that comes up is what happened when I was 12.
Okay.
My youngest brother was born.
Oh, okay. Your youngest brother was born. Okay. All right. So I'd like you to think of the initial event. Now what we want to do is find out if this is the initial synthesizing event. So I'd like you to think at age 12 your brother was born. All right, ready, hold. Ready, hold. Okay. All right. So what did that make you feel when he was born?
Happy.
Happy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, were you the only child up at that time, up to that point, or?
No, I was
Okay.
the oldest. I am the oldest. He was
Okay.
the fifth child.
Okay. Well, the birth had something to do with creating some kind of stress. Yeah.
More responsibility.
Yeah. So you were the youngest up to that point, and then he was born?
I was the oldest
You were the oldest?
of 5. He was the 5th.
Okay.
So.
Now, and how, as you were told, now, were you babysitting at that
Mm-hmm.
time or taking
Yes.
care of the child? Okay, so here's another
Yes.
child you have to take care of. Okay, all right. So, and I'm not saying that's what was responsible for it, but you see how the birth had some significance in,
Yes,
it
more
had something,
responsibility.
right, more responsibility, and so it may have created some stress for you. Also, you know, parents only have so much attention they can provide for each child, you know, which meant that, you know, But anyway, that, of course, that may not be. But the significance is that this, the birth of your, was it your brother?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, had something to do with creating the stress. I don't know whether it was more responsibility or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to clear that initial event. And let's see if the trigger is programmed into you, because you were sitting around while I was reading that. I'd like you to think of the trigger that you read. Okay, ready, hold. Okay, all right. So I got a strong muscle test, which meant that she got it, that she's got the trigger already. Okay, so what we want to do is you want to clear this initial event. So I'd like you to go back to age 12, and this is something that I think is very significant in that you've got to think of the initial event. And even though you're not connected with why it's stressing your body to do that, it's important that you think of the initial event. Okay, think of the birth of your brother. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is say the word relax.
Relax.
Touch your thumb and index fingers. Open them. Okay. Okay. Now sometimes when you do this, you may take a deep breath or you may yawn. And what that means is that it doesn't mean that you're boring yourself. It just means that there's some kind of an energy shift occurring. All right. So now the way we post-test to determine whether or not we were able to clear this synthesizing event and whether or not we're able to switch on both hemispheres in relationship to the subject of self-love is we just have her make this statement again. Okay? So I'd like you to say, I love myself.
I love myself.
All right, ready, hold. All right, so we've got a strong muscle test. Now let's see if her hemispheres are doing. The statement, I love myself. All right, ready, hold.
I love myself.
Ready, hold.
I love myself.
Good. Okay, so both hemispheres are switched on. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that that synthesizing event cleared at age 12. So what I'm going to have you do, Linda, is go back and think of the initial synthesizing event at age 12, which related to the birth of your brother. Ready, hold. All right. Did you feel how strong that was?
Yes, I
Okay.
did.
So all we basically did was that we created this medium and we said, okay, when I hit this trigger, I'm going to just go ahead and allow whatever it was that traumatized me at age 12, and I'm just going to go ahead and let that go. And the thing you have to understand is that everything we do is subconscious, and I'll show you in a moment a little demonstration that we can illustrate that. And so the way to attack that problem is subconsciously, not consciously. I mean, we can talk about it all day, but if I wasn't able to find the initial event at age 12, we would have never connected the birth of your brother to whatever it was that was preventing you from loving yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, and it may have been that you thought, oh God, here's another child for me to take care of, and then you may have felt guilty about thinking that, because, and I'm not saying that's what happened, mm-hmm. I'm really saying that that's a possible scenario, and so that maybe that's what's preventing you from totally loving yourself. But because it's such a subjective thing, mm-hmm. Did you want to say something?
I realized that actually I was 11 when my brother was born, but when I was 12, at 6 months old, he became very, very ill.
Oh my goodness.
Very ill, and they didn't know what was wrong, and he had to be put in the hospital in intensive care.
Okay.
And I was babysitting him.
Oh my goodness, okay. Yeah.
So I think that must have been it more than his birth.
Wow, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's interesting is that sometimes I'll ask the person, I'll say, well, can you remember how you were feeling, or and I go, no, okay. So we'll go ahead and clear it and switch on both our hemispheres, and I go, this funny thing happened, and and all of a sudden it comes to them. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that if you have difficulty remembering something, what you can do is touch the thumb and index fingers of both hands. Mm-hmm. And what that does is it switches on both your hemispheres, and then just ask yourself, okay, what was that I was trying to remember? I remember doing a session with a woman, and I told her, I'll prove it to you. I said, can you think of your 5th grade teacher's name? And she said, no. I said, okay, I want you to touch your thumb and index finger, just close your eyes and say, what is my 5th grade teacher's name? And it came up. Mm-hmm. So all the information that we've ever experienced, all the experiences that we've ever had are stored in our subconscious in the form of information. And we can access them, just by touching both hemispheres. Okay, now to illustrate that everything we do is subconscious. I have these 2 3x5 cards. One's got number 1 on it, one's got number 2 on it. So what I'd like you to do is, if you would sign your name, go ahead and sign your name. What we normally do, I'll put this number 2 over here. Okay. Great. Okay. Now what I'd like you to do is, if you would just face the camera and just hold that. And I want you to just look at your signature. All right, ready, hold. See what her hemispheres are doing. Okay. Now, there's something in her signature that's creating stress in her body. Now, what's interesting is that I can bring somebody else up here and have them look at your signature, and they'll muscle test weak also. Okay? Mm-hmm. So what I'd like you to do is think of the signature that you just written. You just say the word relax. Relax.
Relax.
Touch your thumb and index fingers and open them. Okay. All right. Now what I'd like you to do, now this is number 2. Let's go ahead and sign your name again. Okay, great. Now this is number 2, so I'd like you to read that. Or just look at it. Okay, ready, hold. Strong muscle test, right, left. Okay. Now the second signature, she muscle tested strong and both hemispheres were switched on. So what I'm going to do is just mix these up without looking at them. Okay. Just have her read that. All right, ready, hold. Right. That's number 2. Because she was switched on. If we have her look at number 1 again, ready, hold, switched on. So it's so important that you understand that everything we do is subconscious, and that there was something subconsciously about this signature that stressed you. But when we use that trigger to clear whatever it was that stressed you, and had you sign it again, the body was strong. So the significance of this is that if you're sending a letter to someone, and they're reading your signature, and it switches them off, and it's going to do it subjectively, that it's going to influence the way they respond to your letter, as opposed to reading number 2, which is switched on. But the whole significance of that demonstration is to just prove or to show that everything we do is subconscious. It's almost like when we walk into a room, we kind of connect to everybody that's in that room on a subjective level. Okay? And that's what's causing our problems. It's not consciously, because if it was conscious, we could just fix it.